Hi guys, Johnny Good for Real Home Studio. Now, any engineer worth their salt is going to tell you that when you're mixing, probably the most important thing is to be in an acoustically treated room in a really accurate environment, so you can know what you're hearing and what you're dealing with. Sounds like a pretty simple thing that makes absolute sense. Yes, that's the best case scenario. What I'm talking to you today about is what happens when having your mixing scenario acoustically treated isn't an option. Hi guys, so yeah, I came up with the idea of this video basically based on my life and my experiences. I'm wedged in the corner of a double bedroom, and it's the only place in my house where my stuff's going to go. So whilst I totally appreciate ideal scenario is being ideally acoustically treated, having your absorption panels up, having strategically placed bass traps, and just getting your monitors away from walls and all that stuff is where you want to be. This is for all you people out there like me that maybe mix in a kitchen, or you mix in your bathroom or your shed or in your car or on the train. Maybe you rent a house, you rent a room, you're in a small space, you don't, it's a multi-purpose room. So I kind of figure there's a lot of people out there who are using, because tech's got so small, you can pretty much mix and record anywhere, that we're not all going to be in those ideal listening environments. So here's a few things which I've put into practice which really help compensate for not being in an ideal room. Now, first of all, the first thing is, once again, I want to stress, being in a well-treated room is paramount. I would put it over everything. So if you have that option, or you can afford for someone to come in and help you with that, that's the best way to go, because at the end of the day you're mixing music, and so you want to hear that music accurately. Okay, so do your best is what I got for number one. So I've got some decoupling pads underneath my monitors which just help for rumble. That's a good thing. You don't want your monitors directly onto any desk. I've seen some videos online where people have got their monitors directly onto glass desks and things like that, and that's just going to open up a whole load of issues. If you're near a window, even like closing curtains, opening up a closet so you've got the clothes just to dampen out the walls a bit. If you've got the possibility of putting bass traps in the corner, that can kind of be pretty subtle in a room. Take down your mirrors. If you've got a mirror right behind you or hanging on the wall, take your mirrors down. You try and eliminate reflective surfaces. Second thing is, on YouTube and across the internet there's frequency tests, so they'll just play the frequency spectrum, and you will hear bumps along that frequency spectrum, and that's showing you, it's demonstrating you the inadequacies in your room. So you're hearing bumps at certain frequencies. In my room I hear big bumps and problems around the low end and the low mids, and funny enough that's the problems which I experience, and that's pretty typical if you're wedged in a corner. So I compensate for that. My ears have compensated for that. I'm kind of used to it. I know the problems pretty well that are in this room and in the space where I mix. And I've done stuff as extreme as sort of bumping up on the mix bus towards the end of a mix, because I know that I've been taking too much bass out because I'm compensating for hearing too much bass. That's quite an extreme thing. That might divide the crowd a bit. Some people don't mind doing a bit of gentle EQing on a mix bus, but that compensatory EQ for what's going on in your room can sometimes be helpful, particularly if you've taken your mix out or a client's got back and said, I need some more bass on this. If you're noticing that happening a lot, you might want to just compensate for that at the end of your mix process. Think a set of like these PreSonus or KRKs, the Rockets, for sort of home studio monitoring are great. Again, as mentioned, use your absorption foam. If you have the functions on the back, which I know these PreSonus do, to take down a few decibels at certain frequencies, use those options. That's explained on these PreSonus, and I notch the bass down to as far as I can. That takes 4 dB off it, which acclimatizes it to an extent for them being in a corner. The other thing is, headphones. Now, I don't really like mixing on headphones, if I'm honest, but they're real big bonus of these is they're not going to get coloured by the room. So that's coming from the headphones straight into ears. If you know your headphones, that's great, because obviously the downside is they are getting coloured by what headphones you're using. So the drivers and the style of headphone you're using is colouring the sound. So it's not necessarily giving you a 100% accurate sound. But again, you can learn your headphones. Find some headphones you like, use them a lot, get used to them, and you'll get used to where stuff sits. Reference and listen to great recordings that you like, listen to where stuff is sitting, and then use them as a reference on your headphones. That way you at least getting a consistency. You know, again, if you watch my channel, you know I don't spend a lot. I can't afford to spend an awful lot on this gear. I mean, I spend enough, but I'd rather spend my money on my family and my house and stuff. But you know, I use good enough gear to get me by, and the best stuff that I can afford. And I found I really like these Samsung series headphones. They're the SR50s are the semi-open, and these are the SR950s. They're the closed back ones, like for tracking. And I mix between the two actually when I'm mixing. I really like those. They're not expensive, about 30-35 quid a pair. And the other thing to, you know, also use for your cross-reference is to use, you know, Apple earbuds like these, or, you know, use any earbuds that have come with your phone. This is what a lot of people are going to listen to your music on. And, you know, use that in the same way as if a Pro Studio's, you know, going to have some, you know, the Yamaha, the old white cone Yamahas up, or have multiple head monitors. Use multiple earphones. You can get a really cheap splitter. That's what I use. From Behringer, the HA400, I think that was something like 15-20 quid, and you can put 4 headphones in that and just, you know, split them up really, really easy. Saves you wearing out the input jack on your card. Analyzers like SPAN, Voxengo SPAN, which is free. A spectrum analyzer, which, you know, I use a lot as well, just to reference what's going on visually. That can be really helpful. I know we work in sound, primarily you want to work in sound, but having that backup to visually, also again cross-reference with other stuff, it's another aid that's going to help you in a less than perfect environment. I'll put a link below for Voxengo SPAN. If you haven't got it, it's a free download. It's a really, really useful tool to have. When you're recording, you know, use sims, use amp sims if you've got problems in your room when you're recording. There's some really good amp sims out there now for guitars. I've put up a review a few months ago of one that I enjoy using. And again, I put up a video about using piano MIDI, which is using addictive keys. And again, you're not going to record in those problems from your room, and you're going to have a lot more control. So don't be afraid to use, you know, sims and MIDI stuff. Finally, probably the most important thing for you is to listen back. When you finally mix, listen back in as many environments as you can. This is like your safeguard, because, you know, if you can't 100% trust where you're listening, then the best thing is to get like a mean straw poll of what your thing sounds like. So once you've got a record and you think, yeah, it sounds great in my room, you know, the old car test. If you've got a car, go and listen in the car. It's a great different environment. That will soon give you a really different perspective on your mix. Sometimes that can be a bit deflating, but come back, you know, have a break, then write it down, come back and make some changes. If you have a CD player, like I have a CD player downstairs, and quite a lot of the time, you know, I've got a bunch of just cheapy discs, and I'll just mix a few mixes down that I've been working on, go and listen to them on a stereo in a different environment, you know, CD. You know, stick on your phone, go and have a walk, that kind of thing. As many different environments as you can. You know, when I used to work in a shop, I used to put stuff on in the shop all the time. I've said before as well, when you bring someone else into a room in a different environment, it kind of changes your listening experience as well. So just as many different things as you can before you settle on that mix. That will really aid you in giving you a good mean test on what you finally got down. Hopefully I'm not rambling too much. I think that's just about it. You know, again, the main thing is make your space as accurate, understand your space, understand your headphones. Lots of time, get to know where you're mixing. I hope that helps. I hope that gave you at least 1 or 2 ideas to be a little bit more accurate in what you're listening to when you're mixing back. any comments or my thoughts, then stick them in the comment box below. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Just got over 300 subscribers and loads of new subscribers on the blog of Real Home Studio, which is awesome. So thanks again for supporting and listening to the stuff I want to share with you guys. Happy mixing. Have yourself a great day.